Good evening, members. Welcome to this Communities, Housing and Environment Policy Advisory Committee. I am Liam, Democratic Services Officer, and in the absence of the Chairman and Vice Chair, I will take the committee through the first two items of the agenda before a Chairman is elected for the duration of the meeting. Tonight's proceedings will be webcast by the Council, but if anyone else is intending to record these proceedings, can you please let me know now? I ask this question not to stop you, but merely to ensure that members and other members of the public in the room know that it is taking place. I would also like to advise members that they should only address the meeting by way of their microphones and to remind them to turn their microphone off when they have finished speaking. If the fire alarm does sound, please remain seated and members of the Democratic Services team will assess the situation and give further instructions on the evacuation of the building if necessary. I will now go on to the first item of the agenda. Apologies for absence. There are apologies received from Councillor McKenna, Councillor Newton, and also Councillor Kadka. Item 2 on the agenda is notification of substitute members. Can I please have any substitute members please confirm their attendance?
Hi, Councillor Conyard for Councillor Kadka.
Thank you, Councillor. I will now move on to the election of the chairman. Can I please have nominations for the election of a chairman, please? Councillor Fort. Thank you. Are there any other nominations today? Is that seconded? Thank you. Are there any other nominations? If the Is that agreed?
Thank you. Right, I'd like to move on to item 3, urgent items, and there are no urgent items. So we'll move on to item 4, visiting members. I can't see any visiting member, or it doesn't count. Okay. Yeah, there are no visiting members. Item 5, disclosures by members and officers. Are there any disclosures by members or officers? No? Okay. So I'll move on to item 6, disclosures of lobbying. Are there any disclosures of lobbying? No? Okay. Then item 7, to consider whether any items should be taken in private because of the possible disclosure of exempt information. I'd like to move that all items be taken in public unless any member of the committee wishes to refer specifically to the information contained within items 17, 18 and 19, in which case the committee will need to enter into closed session due to the likely disclosure of exempt information. Is this agreed? Agreed. Excellent. Item 8, minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of March 2023. The minutes of the meeting can be found on page 1 to 4. Are there any comments on the accuracy of the minutes? No? Okay. I move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of March 2023 be approved as a correct record and signed. Is that agreed? Agreed. Okay. And then item 9, presentation of petitions. There are no petitions. So item 10, question and answer session from local residents, and there are no questions from local residents. Item 11, question and answer session from members, and there are no questions from members. So item 12, forward plan. The forward plan can be found on page 5 to 8. Are there any comments on the forward plan? No? Okay, so I move that the forward plan be noted. Is that agreed? Agreed. Excellent. Item 13, Biodiversity and Climate Change Action Plan Annual Review. Oh, right, okay. So, okay, thank you. Yeah. So, the Biodiversity and Climate Change Action Plan can be found on page 9 to 37, and the report will be introduced by. Sorry, James Wilderspeed. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you,
Thank you.
Chair. So this report is in regard to the Biodiversity and Climate Change annual, Action Plan Annual Review. The annual review process is stipulated as part of the action plan to ensure the actions are still relevant and up to date with new government approaches and scientific-based targets, and to scrutinise whether the actions are progressing. At the last update of the action plan to Chi Committee on the 15th of November 2022, the Leader of the Council outlined and proposed an annual review process for the actions to be separated into those of the Council's direct control and those under its influence, and update the wording to make it more concise and clear, and align actions to the relevant lead members and on the executive to then be presented to each committee for discussion. In summary, the reviewed action plan is now 38 succinct actions agreed by portfolio holders that can be more readily carried out and monitored by officers. Today it is recommended that this committee review the actions relevant to this pack and recommend the addition, removal and change of the actions within the action plan. Namely, there are 19 actions to this committee, and with the agreement of the finalised action plan and Appendix 1 of this report, the new action plan will be updated to the website and officers will continue to implement actions, reporting every 6 months on progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Thornton.
On action 2.2, because there's only really a couple that affect this committee. Action 2.2, enforce energy efficiency to private rental properties. When you say enforce, what do you mean?
The word enforce there is because there is a legal change from the government to ensure that all private rented homes meet a minimum requirement which has been uplifted. So that's why the word enforce is there.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on the report? Right, okay. I believe this report is so what am I supposed to do here? Sorry, what are we supposed to do? Is this just noting? Oh, I see. Right, okay. Sorry. Okay. So, yes, I'd like to move then that we sort of proceed as per the papers and recommend this plan to the executive. Is that agreed, Oh, sorry, is there a seconder? Sorry. So, okay. And is that agreed? Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. Right, item 14, Heather House and the Royal British Legion site. This report can be found on pages 38 to 76, and the report will be introduced by the lead member for Housing and Health, Councillor Simon Webb.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just to give a brief summary for you, a successful planning application for the redevelopment of the site including Heather House and the Pavilion building, has been granted. The site will deliver a new community centre on the Heather House site and new build residential scheme of 11 dwellings on the Pavilion building site. The proposal for the Pavilion building site is a mixture 10-year scheme of 11 high-quality houses, 7 for private market rent and 4 for first home. The first homes are discounted market sale housing, meeting the definition of affordable housing. These units must be discounted by a minimum of 30% against the market rate, or market value, I apologise. After the discount, the first sale price must be no higher than £250,000. The project will significantly improve the image, visual appearance and public perception of the community centre and contribute towards the regeneration of the area. This scheme will see the delivery of a new modern multi-purpose community facility within the existing footprint of Heather House. The scheme is included in the capital programme. The final model assumes a successful CIL bid, which is the Community Infrastructure Levy bid, of £956,420. That won't be determined until the summer. In the event this is unsuccessful, monies from the £5 million infrastructure funding in the recent adopted capital programme will be utilised to provide the subsidy to the community centre. Officers are also seeking approval to proceed with a tender exercise to procure a management provider for the proposed new community centre. Any other queries that you have, I'm happy to take them. Thank you.
Are there any queries or questions? Councillor Young?
Oh, yes, thank you, Chairman. I just want to say thank you very much, and I'm so pleased this proposal is going forward at last. We've been waiting a long time for Heather House to reach fruition, so it looks now as though it's going ahead at a pace, and hopefully once they get all the tenders in, we can actually start building this lovely new establishment for the local people. Thank you.
That's very kind of you. I'd like to pay tribute to the officers behind the scenes that have worked very hard to put this project together and ensure that there is a mix of housing, to ensure that in part, a very small part, but at least we have some affordable housing within the development here, and also to provide some high quality provision for the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Councillor Rose, please.
Was that one? Sorry, Chair. Yes, I'd like to say how delighted I am. I very much agree, and thank you very much for the planning and the work that has gone into it. Both myself and I speak, I think, for Councillor Wilkinson, who is one of the councillors for Parkwood. I am delighted that this is going forward. It's been spoken about for such a long time. I did actually live in Parkwood something like 20 years ago, and I'm very, very pleased with the way it now looks. It is so much better, and the whole area. I know that the Fusion Cafe is very popular. It's a very attractive place. It's also used for community. I believe one of the things Councillor Wilkinson put in was a contact with a midwife for young families. So I think the Fusion Cafe is extremely good. I think the community centre will be built as a community hub. It's the time I've been on this committee, it's been discussed several different ways, and there was one point when it was thinking about becoming a rugby club, but hopefully it will be used by all. and it will be able to build a community cohesion area. I believe there is, as there is in so many other areas, and not blaming Parkwood specifically because it happens in so many other areas, there is an area, an antisocial element which I really hope that having a community centre with a community hub used by everybody, valued by everybody, will, I hope, deal with any antisocial elements. I know that Councillor Wilkinson has spoken to me about antisocial situations before. And again, I say, underlining, I don't want to blame Parkwood for this. It happens in so many other areas. But I'm absolutely delighted that this is going forward because it's been spoken about for such a long time and it all looks extremely good. It looks as if it's really going to draw all elements of that community together. So thank you very much, Councillor Webb, for that presentation, and also well done to all that have worked so hard with it, and really very much wish it well. So thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Rose. Are there any other comments? No? Okay. Sorry. So, if there are no other comments, do I have to do them individually? I'd like to move then that we sort of proceed as per the papers. Is that seconded by anyone? Oh, okay. Take your pick. And judging by the number of seconders, is that approved? So that's approved. And then we move on to item 15, the property acquisition for 1,000 homes programme. The report can be found on page 77 to 83, and the report would be introduced by Councillor Simon Webb. So, Councillor Webb, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As you all know, we are yet again delighted to be able to drive forward our main property acquisition, which is for 1,000 affordable homes. The Council has an ambitious housing programme that is funded via the Council's adopted capital programme. This house building programme encompasses homes for affordable housing, private rented sector housing, and on occasion a limited amount of exposure to market sale housing too. The development strategy for this programme was approved by the Policy and Resources Committee in January 2022, and the proposals within this report are consistent with delivering that strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Are there any comments on this report at all? Councillor Rose.
I'd just like to really commend the idea of actually building more housing for people. I'm a councillor for Fant, and I know that we do have difficulties with HMOs, and basically I think it's because people do need somewhere to live. They need a roof over their heads, and HMOs are not ideal, but if you're faced with living in your car or in a tent or something, you're going to try and find somewhere to live. So I really recommend this, and I'm really pleased that it's going forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Rose. Are there any other comments on the report at all? No? Okay. So then I'd like to move that we proceed as per the papers. The recommendation on the papers, is that seconded? Councillor Rose, and is that agreed? Agreed. Okay. This is very quick. Item 16, property acquisition for 1,000 affordable homes programme. The report for this can be found on pages 84 to 91, I'd like to call on the lead member for Housing and Health, Councillor Simon Webb, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a site in Granville Road, Maidstone. The site is an existing office building on Granville Road, opposite to the Britannia House Maidstone Borough Council have recently purchased. The principle of residential development has been established through several permissions, including Britannia House opposite this site and Golding Homes scheme further down the road. Right, thank you. I'm just giving you a headline around the fact that this is a new development which we're hoping to buy, and it does fit in with the housing programme and the previous policy which you looked at about 2.5 minutes ago, and would say to you that the development strategy for the programme was approved by the Policy and Resources Committee in January 22. And in that sense, this is just an approval mechanism for this particular site.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Are there any comments on this report at all? Councillor Conyard. Oh.
Sorry, may I comment in relation
Sorry.
to agenda item 19, the private section of this particular part?
Sorry, Councillor Webb, could you turn your mic off, sir? Okay, right. Are there any members that would like to speak on part 1? Because we'll do part 1. If not, then we'll move into part 2 separately. So. Right. Okay. I see. Okay. So, in order to proceed on that, I'd like to move that the public be excluded for the item as set out in part 2 of the agenda due to the possible disclosure of exempt information having applied the public interest test. The committee will return to open session at, what sort of time should I say? 7:05. Is there a seconder for that? Yeah, Councillor. Okay, and is that agreed? Agreed. Okay. So. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Yeah, so we're going to sort of just pause the meeting, and we'll have to ask the members of the public to leave, and the webcast is going to be stopped while we debate this. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry. Right, okay, yeah, no problem.